When you're in your mid-20s, you really only have three options.
Get married,
Get a master's,
or run a marathon.
Hi, I'm Brian,
And I'm Francis,
and welcome to this week's episode of the Zone 2 podcast.
where we explore all there is to learn about the world of running.
I heard that voice crack.
Yeah. Brian, you look different.
Francis, I feel a little different.
I saw you walking up the steps to my house to record, and it looks like you got hit by a bus. Everything okay?
Yeah, I think everything's fine. It really, I ran a marathon yesterday.
You ran a marathon?
It's funny that you're pretending to be surprised because you actually saw me
I did.
finish the marathon, and you actually ran the last maybe 100 yards with me.
This is true.
And I don't think I could have finished it without you.
Oh, thank you. But you know what this means?
What does this mean?
It means you're better than me.
It does, by a lot.
By at least 13.1 miles.
Yeah, well, you did 18 miles today, didn't you?
But I didn't race it.
You didn't race it.
Yeah. So you are officially a marathoner, which means that you know more about marathons than I do up until this point. You are intimately aware of the trials and tribulations of a marathon, but you came out on the other side pretty much unscathed.
I feel a little scathed.
A little scathed?
Yeah.
Well, we're joined here today with another finisher of the Newport, Rhode Island Marathon as well, Rachel Ahlmark. Rachel, how are you feeling?
I am feeling good. I'm excited to be on the podcast.
Well, welcome. We're super excited to have you. So we're going to do a debrief of the race in a second, but as we do with all of our guests, we always like to ask them a couple questions about how they got into running and learn their story. So, Rachel, can you tell us a little bit about how you made your way into running? What's your background?
Yeah, I started running, I think about 8 years ago now. I started sophomore year of high school. I ran cross country and track, and I ran middle distance, mostly 800s and some 400 and 200s actually, and some miles sometimes. And then I ran in college for 2 years, D3, and then I decided that I wanted to do some other stuff and just kind of made it like a hobby and kind of took the competitiveness away from it. So I was just running on my own most of the time. Sometimes I'd run with friends, and I kind of got into it more of a hobby than a thing that I had to be good at because I needed to pursue it as I wanted to do it in college and I wanted to run way faster. I didn't care as much about it. I just did it for fun. And then after I graduated last year, I moved to a different country and I started going to run clubs, and I met Cate, who you guys had early on the podcast, and she made me super excited about doing different run clubs. And then she told me that she was moving to Boston and I was going to be here for another year. And so I started doing run clubs with her and met some more people and went to different ones in Boston. And yeah, I'd done everything alone up until then. And then I kind of discovered, I hate to say discovered because it's very obvious now in the open how great the running community is in Boston, but it's just fantastic. So I did a half marathon this past fall for the second time, and then everyone around me was running marathons. So I was this seems like a fun thing to do, and it seems like I didn't have anything to train for the past 2 years. I was just doing it out of hobbies, and I don't know, it's nice to have something a schedule of what to do. So then I decided I was going to run a marathon, and the one in Newport I had heard good things about, and well, have I heard
misguided good things about it, perhaps?
The timing seemed like something I was interested in, and I know Rhode Island, I guess, but yeah, it was an interesting time for sure, and we'll get into it.
So I think I'm in the same boat with Newport. I chose it because it was the same weekend as Boston, and I wanted to be on the same training schedule as all the Boston people, but it was definitely a different...
But now you can see all of the events going on yesterday for the Boston Marathon.
That I couldn't participate in, and the ones today that I couldn't participate in because I can barely walk.
Yeah, sitting up and down. Sitting is hard, actually.
I was going to say, there's so much going on. I hope Brian's able to take advantage of some of the cool things going on. Apparently not.
Nope, not one.
Damn, that's too bad. So it sounds like you making the transition from a competitive runner to more of a hobbyist runner kind of help you to rediscover your love for the sport and your love for the community. I am curious to know, while you were training for your first marathon, what was that experience like? What are some of the things that you learned from that training cycle specifically?
Major takeaway, everything is relative. When you go into like 10 miles for me a year and a half ago was a lot. And now that's an easy long run before the race, right? So I think, yeah, everything is relative and mindset is like a lot of it, right? Like if you know that you're going to run X amount of miles and the longer you run, I think the easier miles become. And that was like a really good discovery. And I think there's a lot of places that you can go with running. So the further you can go, the more you can see, which I like.
It's funny they say that running is a great way to like learn a city or discover stuff, but I look at my Strava and it's the same route like 20 or 30 times in a row. And I'm like, oh, and I tell people that it's a great way to see the city, but then I'm like, what am I going to do today? Oh, along the Charles? How novel.
There is something about turning your brain off and doing a familiar route, though.
Yeah, I did an unfamiliar route yesterday, and that was super exciting. And I ran into some people that I work with, which was odd.
You don't sound super enthused about that.
Well, it was really hot, and I was running with my shirt off, and that's not exactly how I want to see my coworkers.
That's not workplace attire.
No, not at all. If it was, I would be very uncomfortable at work. So, you ran your marathon. How do you feel about how you did? And would you do another one?
I was telling, like, there's a point in the race where I went from, like, having my goal pace to just trying to finish and understanding that, like, you know, running a marathon is actually incredibly difficult.
You don't say.
Yeah, and there's a reason that it's, like, something that's really, like, people plan for. So I feel good in that I finished. I feel a little bit like I abandoned my race plan. I definitely went out like way too hard, and I paid for that in the later miles, and I think I'm still paying for that physically. So that's how I feel. Am I going to do another one? Was your other question? Yes.
Nice. You've tried the drug and now you're addicted.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good drug.
I would also say too, I think the lead up to the marathon, especially if you're training with other people, is really exciting.
It's so fun.
Because everyone else is sort of like striving towards not the same race or the same specific goal. Like everyone has their own goals, but you're all working towards something personally. And the fact that you can do that together is super cool.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I kind of want to dive right in and start asking you guys questions about the race.
Sure. Yeah, certainly.
And now it's time for the first ever Zone 2 podcast race recap. I saw both of you at roughly the halfway point, and then I didn't see Rachel finish, but I saw Brian finish. And I will say, Brian, there was a stark difference in your demeanor from when I saw you first around mile 14 to when I saw you at like mile 26.01. Can you tell me, and actually both of you, walk me through like the first 13 miles, like up until the point where I first saw you?
Sure, I'll do my full race recap for you. So to start in the morning, this is like pre-race for me, and we can talk about later things that I would do differently the next time I run a marathon, but I feel like I didn't have much of an appetite that morning, just like so nervous, so anxious. Got to the parking lot to take the shuttle to the start, and we were greeted by the most glorious of Rhode Island sunrises. It really was spectacular, and I feel like that had me in a mood to just be running. And I remember seeing Rachel and running into a couple people at the start and feeling so amped up and almost twitchy of being like, I just can't wait to run. Like I almost felt like I had all this pent up energy and I needed to get it out of my system, and I couldn't wait to start. So when it started, and all the marathoners we've had on the podcast so far have warned us handsomely about the risks of going out too fast in a marathon. And I was like, yeah, sure. And I don't think I was prepared for, I think the way I would say it is just feeling overwhelmed with emotion at the start. A lot of people kind of refer to running the actual race as a celebration of the training. And I do think that that's really true, where I felt like I had reached the end. And between that point, because like the clock starts and then you're going up to the starting line to actually start the race. And in that moment, I had this like feeling just wash over me of how many miles I've ran in this training cycle. I've done almost 800 miles. And I remember feeling overwhelmed with that emotion, and there's so much adrenaline. And Newport starts with a very big uphill. You start on the beach, and within the first half a mile, you're going 100-foot elevation uphill. And I don't even remember like going up the hill. I remember it being like, oh my God, I'm at the top of this hill. So start going up the hill. I felt super strong. I was ready to get going. I'm looking at my watch and I'm hitting the times that I felt like I wanted to aim for. So going into the race, I think I'd set my A goal at a 3:10, which would have had a 1:35 split for the half. And I set my watch to every 5K, giving me the split rather than every mile because I didn't want information of 26 splits. And my first 5K split was 22 and change, which I felt pretty good about. And my first 4 5K splits were all between 22 and 24, which felt very consistent. I felt really strong for the first half. And the first half of that course is, I mean, Rachel can attest to this too. It's just absolutely stunning. You go away from the beach and then you're running through just mansions basically in Newport. And around mile 5, you come around a bend and the trees open up and you are just running on the rocky coast of Rhode Island and the sun is on your right and the waves are crashing and it's absolutely stunning. And I remember there's about a half a mile there where there's a really stiff headwind and the headwind sucked, but I almost felt like I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just looking around at how beautiful it was. Like, just an amazing backdrop for a race, honestly.
Yeah, for reference, I think the wind was sustained at like 20-something miles an hour with 30-something mile an hour gusts.
Yeah, a handsome headwind. It's definitely a struggle.
More than
too.
handsome.
Yeah, I was working hard, I think, to keep my pace, and I tried to dial it back a gear. Like, probably mile like 9 or 10, you go away from the water a little bit, and it's time to make your way back to the beach, where the half marathon ends, and we go into the second half of the race. And I remember for those last few miles, I found myself thinking of all the people who were waiting for me back at the beach to cheer for me as I went by. And I knew Francis and Cate and Claire were there, and my parents and my brother and his girlfriend. I was so excited to see everybody that I think for those few miles that really drove me back to the beach, where I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to go see these people. I can't wait to go see these people. So get back to the beach. My half split was 1:34 and change, which felt really strong.
That's a great performance for your first half.
Yeah, I ran a great half marathon, Francis.
And then, okay.
So
that was, Brian, your first half.
Yeah.
Rachel, how was your first half?
I had a pretty similar experience. I didn't run like basically at all the week leading up because I was having some pain and it probably wasn't worth it because I wasn't going to gain any fitness, but I also probably wasn't going to lose any by taking time off. So I went into it. Yeah, I was walking along the beach. The sun was rising. I had a cup of coffee. It was amazing. The beginning, I was like, this is so exciting. I can't wait to start. The start goes off and I go way too quickly. Again, yeah, I was looking forward to seeing my mom and my brother and that hill. I was like, this is so easy. Like, what do you mean? Like, I can just go right up it. Like, there's no big deal. That's because it was the first half mile of the course.
It was.
And we had many hours to go. So yeah, the first half marathon and the first half of the course, beautiful, stunning. And again, my friends surprised me coming down from Boston and that was very exciting. It got my adrenaline up. I was running a major goal pace, I would say. And I was having a lot of conversations with people around me. They're like, oh, we can just stick at this pace. I was like, yeah, for sure. And I quickly realized that might not be the case. And we were approaching the half marathon mark and people were sprinting by me to finish the half marathon. And that was a bit of a check of, okay, these people are only doing a half marathon and I still have another one of those races to go. And that was a major mental shift for me from floating light, I feel great, this is awesome, I think I PR'd in the half marathon, to okay, this is about to be hard.
The race is about to start, actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember it being so brutal too, Rachel. I think I told you, going by the beach. I remember looking over as I'm passing the half finish and I see the big tent, like the party tent set up where everyone's drinking beer and celebrating being done with the 5Ks and the half. And I literally was like, yeah, that'll be me in 2 hours. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like, and the only reason I guess I'm concerned is because that's exactly how my marathon is set up is that it's 2 loops of a half course, and there is a half marathon being run at the same exact time, and there's also a marathon relay of up to 5 legs. So I feel like I need to make sure that I am not paying attention to anyone else and that I'm just sort of blinders on. I feel like a marathon, they always say you got to respect the distance, and the race itself doesn't owe you anything. Like, there were some people who looked like the distance was disrespecting them actively. And it was not only not owing them anything, but actively taking away pieces of their soul.
Yeah. I would title my marathon A Lesson in Humility.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I would probably plagiarize that title.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of excited to get put in my place. Like, not excited. Like, obviously, I don't want to be in pain running a marathon, but I'm also like, I did an 18-miler today. Mm-hmm. I feel like I kind of got put in my place. Like, I did not feel good. It was hot. And thinking about adding another 8 miles to that is super daunting. And all of a sudden, I think it just sort of hit me today where I was like, oh, that's like 26 miles is really far.
No one has ever said it's not that. It's just a marathon. Like, it's
maybe ultra marathoners.
Yeah, maybe. But I think having done it, I feel like I have a new perspective on like what it means, like physically and mentally, to do it. Where it's not just about running the distance. Like, it really feels like it's like an internal battle.
Yeah.
In a way that I don't like. I've done some difficult things. I've done some really difficult like hikes in my life, but in terms of like physical feats, I don't know if I've ever had to have the mental fortitude to complete something in the way that I felt like I needed yesterday.
I think there's a certain difficulty in being in that state for so long. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think it was certainly the toughest physical and mental thing that I have accomplished.
And you want to do it again.
And I want to do it again because I want to do it better.
That's
Same.
masochism if I've ever heard it.
Should we talk about the second half?
Yeah, I was going to say, so we've kind of danced around your overall thoughts about your marathon. You talked about this being a lesson in humility. So I saw you both at mile 13, 14, around there. You both looked great. What happened when the wheels came off? Now, I wouldn't say wheels came off. I wouldn't say that like your race fell apart, but it definitely was extremely challenging after that halfway mark.
I don't think that would be like a crazy phrase to use for how it went. I think that's about right on the ball. The second half, it was dark. It was lonely. Actually, though, it was quite bright. It got sunny and hot in the second half. And I hear that there were winds. However, I did not experience the winds because I was in pain in other ways. The second half, I think, was particularly hard because there was not much of a crowd. And there was also a long distance in between water stations than I was anticipating, which definitely fuel is a big factor. I think I could have I took 3 or 4, I don't remember, gel. Like, I wish when I do it again.
From the water station, you took the gels?
No, I didn't take any from the gel. I
took one of the goos.
Oh, you took one of the goos.
They are sticky. I got goo.
Oh, you don't.
This is an aside. I don't mean to interrupt Rachel's story,
No
but I brought Morton's with me, and I reached a point where I felt like I wanted one more gel than what I had brought with me. So they had, I think they were goos.
They were.
It was the strawberry banana goo.
That's
and I remember
my favorite.
That is my least favorite because I'm going to associate it with my mental state that I was in when I ate this thing. And I also got to tell you, the Morton's, I feel like I have it dialed. Rip in the little tab, squeeze it with one hand down the gullet.
Yep.
Like,
they're fast.
Go and done. Morton's are quick. And the goo, I kid you not, I had goo all over my hands. This is maybe mile 19. I was holding the goo wrapper in one hand because I was waiting for one of the buckets to throw it out. And with my other hand, I was licking my fingers. No. Yes, I was. It was disgusting.
I would say that's been my experience with goos as well. Like, they're fine, but I don't know. It's like drinking syrup out of a ketchup packet,
and it gets everywhere.
Yeah.
I will say that was really upsetting. I'm anti-goo. I will not be taking one of those again.
All right, maybe I have to try a different fuel source. because I don't know. I think the strawberry banana just tastes like Laffy Taffy to me, which is very.
I do like a good Laffy Taffy.
But there's nothing laughy about the second half of the marathon.
I was not laughing.
Yeah, I think that the nutrition aspect of the marathon is something that I'm a little bit apprehensive of. I've heard a lot of different things, but the consistent thing that I've heard throughout is make sure you have your pre-race meal and your pre-race routine dialed.
Yeah.
And then make sure you are taking your gels like clockwork before you think you need them. And also have salt tabs, especially if it's a summer marathon.
Yeah.
I think I would do salt tabs if I did it again.
Yeah, and I would drink more water at the early stations. I think it's. I didn't run ever with water. I would do all my long runs without. And I got to the station, I was like, I don't even know how to drink and run at the same time. So I was getting like a very little amount in the beginning. But by the end, Brad and I were talking, we were like double fisting the water stations.
Yeah.
One water, one electrolyte water, and it's just the way it had to be.
Yeah.
I think for the first half, I was so focused on momentum for the water stops that when I went to a water station, I kept my pace and tried to drink the water at the 7:15 pace that I held for the first half marathon. And I'm not a scientist, but I would estimate that probably about 10% of the water actually made it into my mouth and into my stomach, and the other 90% made it just all over my shirt. And yeah, that was not.
I've heard, I know there's different techniques to drinking the water. The one that I've heard that's the most effective is you take the cup and you slow down slightly, but you don't stop. You take the cup, you pinch the top, and then you hold it like you hang your hand over and then drink it. So you like keep it pinched so it doesn't splash out.
I don't think I was capable of that coordination at that point in my life.
This is like from pro runners too, so it's like, yeah. I've also heard
That's not us.
the other technique.
got mostly on me, not in
Yeah. I liked the technique of just giving myself a mini shower every 2 miles.
Some of it's got to get in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I've heard is like stopping at a water station to make sure you get enough water is 100% worth the slowing down of the pace and even walking if you need to, because it's more important to be hydrated than it is to, keep your pace, because your pace is just going to tire you out more if you hold it. And you're just going to need more water down the line. But then if you can't get water in, then you're just going to end up bonking.
It's true.
What else happened in the second half? Like, where do you remember around what mile?
I know exactly where I was.
Okay.
So I'll tell you my experience running away from the beach. I had just gone past my family and my friends and their signs screaming and cheering for me, and I had spent the last hour and a half looking forward to seeing them. And going away from the beach on the other side, there's another pretty sizable uphill, and the pack also gets smaller because all the half marathon people are gone. And I remember having this moment of, I don't get to see them for a couple hours. Like, I have to go run all these miles, and I'm not going to get to see them for so long. And I think physically, I still felt strong, but from a psychological standpoint, it felt very lonely, almost, of saying goodbye to the people who would come to cheer for me, and then realizing that I was going to have to go through this hardest part of the race. I did not know what was coming and what the second half was going to be like, and that I was going to be going through that by myself to an extent, and without that support system, I think was really hard. So that was like mile 13 to 14. There's a big up and over hill, and then down to a long beach, out to a wildlife refuge where you go out and back, and it's probably 2.5 miles for the out and back. And I remember once I got onto the straightaway, it's flat going out and back, and the sun was out, and I wasn't expecting the sun to be out. And I remember feeling it like baking on me, and I remember feeling thirsty. And this was that point where there was probably 4 miles, it felt like, between water stops, which was tough too. But this was the first point that I felt my legs start to get heavy. And Rachel and I had talked about this, where from a cardio standpoint, I felt really good and really strong because of all the training that I had done. But the heaviness in my legs was something that I hadn't experienced before, and to feel that so early at like mile 16 maybe, really I was not expecting, to the point that it felt like I was like pulling my legs through mud. You get away from the beach, start going uphill, past the mile 18 mile marker, and I remember hitting this point and being like, oh my God, like I, like you were saying, doing an 18-mile long run, I was like, I cannot imagine doing 8 more miles right now. And I had to walk there. I was like, I need to make it to the end and I have to walk. And that was where I truly felt like, okay, this is the wall. And I was disappointed that I felt like I was hitting it so early, but there was no part of me that was like, I'm not finishing this. I just need to keep moving and keep putting one foot in front of the other. So I'm proud to say that for the rest of the race, I did not stop, and I kept moving, even though I had to walk a few times, and I still had a strong finish in me, but it was a really humbling experience to be in that physical and mental state and just trudging the last 8 miles or so of this marathon. Was like, I've heard people talk about hitting the wall and finishing their marathons and me being like, oh yeah, it sounds hard, but having experienced it, like, what a profound experience of suffering that is.
Rachel, do you concur? What was your experience?
I completely, I concur. I think there's just a level of complete depletion that you reach, and I reached it much, much sooner than I anticipated. Probably, past 13, 14, I was like, okay, I'm not feeling great. I need to reel it in a little bit and take it a little bit slower. So I did. And then I kind of kept taking it slower as I went on. And yeah, there was a point at which if I didn't walk up a hill, I did not imagine no other way to get up it. And at one point I would recommend not trying something new. So I anticipated that I was going to have some pain in my foot. So I had taped it. And the tape ended up causing problems with like blisters and things. So I had planned, I felt it at like mile 4.
A blister at mile 4?
Yeah, I felt it coming.
Oh.
And I was, okay, maybe it'll go away. Did not go away. It got much worse. And I was like, I'm gonna pull over and take the tape off. Don't do that.
Okay.
Blister.
The stopping or taking the tape off?
Don't stop.
Okay.
Because the second I stopped, everything else in me stopped.
Yeah.
And everything cramped and I fell to the, and had to figure out how to be able to run after that. So that was an interesting, I think that was at mile 18 maybe.
I remember that hill. That was brutal.
And I wish I knew the spectator who was next to me, because they were so kind and encouraging and helped me get up.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
Special shout out to them.
Yeah.
And I wish I could thank them personally, but that was a very tough point, and I still had 8 miles to go. Everyone around me was experiencing the same thing that I was experiencing, and I believe was thinking the same things that I was thinking. I did have the thought of not finishing, but
I feel like that's a logical thought to have at that point.
I had never experienced that level of pain for such a prolonged amount of time.
Yeah.
And I'm still feeling it now, and I don't understand how I ran feeling the way that I'm feeling now, because I definitely felt this way yesterday, mid-marathon.
Yeah.
We had talked earlier, too, about this feeling. Like, in the first half, you talked about having a really strong half. And I felt like my first half was so strong, too. When you hit that wall, that mental switch flick, where you go from caring so much about your time. Like, I went in with a goal time and being like, the people are going to see this on Strava. Like, I have to hit the time. I have to hit the time. To so quickly, I remember the moment, and it was on that hill at mile 18 that switch flicked, where I literally was like, I don't care about the time anymore. I'm in survival mode. I just need to finish that.
When it comes to training, there's like 5 abilities that you train for. There's stamina, endurance, power, speed, and tempo. And stamina and endurance are both sort of like the long distance training. Stamina is your ability to run long and slow, and then endurance is your ability to run uncomfortable. And at no point, though, in your training can you actually simulate a marathon. The only way to actually hit, because the whole point of endurance is to like tire out your legs. Maybe you do a long run and you start off with 8 really fast miles or something, and then you try to okay, now I'm gonna slow it down a little bit. I've tired out my legs. Now let's power through. Try to get that lactic back down, and that kind of helps simulate a marathon. But like every book I've read, everything I've talked to my coach about, he's like, you can't actually simulate that extreme fatigue And he's like, there's nothing like it. It's your body telling you every step to stop.
And you have to not.
And you have to keep going.
And you didn't stop.
Yeah. And I think like the fact that both of you had such a similar experience, yet you both finished very strong and both finished your first marathon is one, an incredible testament to all the training you've done, but then also to your mental fortitude as people. And I think that there's only like 0.01% of the people in the world have ever run a marathon, and now you're part of that very prestigious club. So
yeah, and we're better than you.
You're better than me. Yeah, I haven't even run a marathon. What do I know? And I'm hosting this podcast. What's going on?
Yeah, I know. I definitely do feel like I have a new respect for marathoners in general, and I have a new respect for people who are multi-marathoners. Like UP last week, a 15-time marathoner. The mental fortitude to finish 15 marathons is unbelievable. And I also feel like I have an even more profound respect for, like, we talk about elite marathoners who run like 230 times. And yes, it's very fast to be running a marathon in that amount of time. But talk about the stamina required and the mental fortitude for like a 5-hour marathoner.
Yeah.
To be running and have to keep your body moving for that long is such an unbelievable accomplishment. That's something that I think I found myself thinking about for that long time for the second half, where I was like, I'm not going to be back here for 13 miles. That's going to be like hour and a half, 2 hours. I can't imagine this being a 3-hour just soul-searching endeavor. Every single step that you take being like, you have to just put one foot in front of the other and keep moving is real. Like the strength required to do that is so unbelievably admirable. I feel like I have a new respect for, like, if you finish a marathon, like, I don't care how you do it. I don't care how fast you did it. It is such an accomplishment.
You're going to be tired regardless of the pace that you run. So you know when someone says that they have run a marathon, what they have overcome mentally. I think it's also very impressive when there's someone who's run multiple marathons, because we went into it pretty naive. We didn't know what was to come.
People had told me about the wall. I remember on the episode, actually, somebody said the wall, and I was like, oh, look, the wall. I'm sure I'll
it's a wall,
it.
yeah. But like,
it's like when it gets kind of difficult.
Yeah.
No, it gets really difficult. So to be able to know what is coming and to anticipate the pain and still want to do it, I think that what happens a lot when you are running the same race over and over again is you anticipate the pain, and that's why you're nervous in some way. So I think that's very impressive.
I was so nervous for this race, and it's so funny looking back. I don't know what I was nervous about because I didn't know what was going to happen to me.
Right.
Like I did not have the reference for what was going to be nervous other than what people had told me about this wall that I had in every aspect of my life never experienced.
If you were to do another marathon, which it sounds like both of you will do at some point.
Oh yeah.
What is one thing you would change in your race strategy? What is one thing you would change in your training strategy?
I really like this idea of running 8 miles hard and then finishing a long run. That sounds a really, really good idea. So I would change I think I prioritized a lot avoiding injury. So taking 2 days off every week and cross training or doing different exercise. I would up the mileage. I would prioritize consistent fueling on my long runs and to simulate what I was needed to do on a race. And I would execute the race very differently. We were talking about this. My goal would be to negative split it. I think if you're negative splitting it, you're probably feeling pretty decent 3/4 of the way through. And that would be awesome.
That would be so
That would be so good.
It would be really nice. Even just the difference between hitting a wall at 22 versus 18, I feel like would make such a difference.
Such a difference. So I think I would do a 22-mile long run. My longest run was 20. And I felt pretty good about that. It was 26 is a lot more than 20.
I feel like I could fill a whole podcast episode with my thoughts, or maybe a whole podcast series on my thoughts of what I've learned in training and what I feel like I would change if I did another cycle. I would start with things maybe that I feel like I did well through training. I think I did a really good job staying consistent with my training plan, where I did I hit my mileage goals just about every week. I hit my long run every single week. I did my 1 to 2 workouts every single week, and I feel like I was very consistent about it. Like Rachel said, I feel like if I did train again, I do feel like I would up my mileage, and I think I would prioritize doing doubles a little bit more, just as a means of, like, I feel like that would be a very easy way to just add 10 to 20 miles a week by adding some easy miles in the morning or in the evening on the other side of a workout. So from a training standpoint, I think that's what I would do differently. The biggest training and race thing that I would change, and Rachel mentioned nutrition strategy. So I think a big part of why I hit the wall so early was my nutrition plan. I was doing 2 gels an hour. I do not think that was enough. I also waited until the 30-minute mark and did a gel every 30 minutes. I think that was too long to wait. I think, Francis, you mentioned when you did your half, you ate a gel at the start. I think I would do that. I also think through training, I did a lot of my long runs fasted just because I usually don't have that big of an appetite in the morning. And I think I want to train my stomach to be able to handle high carb, a concentrated breakfast in the morning, to have fuel in my stomach that I'm conditioned to deal with for those long runs. So on race day, I can get food down and keep it down. That's going to give me energy. The morning of the race, I had a granola bar and a couple bites of muffin, and then my nerves got to me and my appetite was gone and I couldn't keep anything down. So I think that's why come mile like 16, my legs just weren't having it, because I don't think I had the energy in my body. Even though I did feel like I did a proper carbo load for a couple weeks before, or a couple days before, I think it was gone. So I think nutrition would be definitely the biggest thing that I would change, is upping my carbs and prioritizing pre-race fueling.
I would also be curious to know, and I think I'm going to try and do this for mine, weighing myself before the marathon, like morning of, and then weighing myself after.
Oh, interesting. Where does that weight change come from?
I think it's a lot of fat being burned, and then also a lot of water loss.
I could see the water loss.
Yeah.
And then from a race strategy thing, we talk about negative splitting. So I 100% agree with that. I think finishing the marathon feels like an amazing accomplishment. I'm super proud of myself for doing it. I'm proud of you too, Rachel, for doing it.
I'm proud of both of you guys.
Yeah, and for sticking through it all the way to the end.
We saw each other at a rough point.
We did. We passed each other.
Locked eyes and you're like...
On the out and back, we passed each other, and I was definitely in the pain cave. And
yeah, me too.
Rachel was also in the pain cave, but we did it. We both finished.
They talk about the marathon being like very mental, especially in the later stages after you hit the wall. But do you think that wall switch, or hitting that wall, do you think it's physical? Do you think it's majority mental? Or do you think it's like pretty much 50-50?
I had stages of walls.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
My first wall stage occurred in the first half. My pace dropped about 30 seconds, I think. And it was just, I think I'm exerting myself too much too early. It was kind of like a mental wall. And I was checking in with myself, I think I need to slow it down a bit. And then after passing you guys, there was another wall of solitude, and that was majorly mental. And then up that hill after the out and back was a total physical wall.
I don't know if I'd ever experienced when you talk about glycogen stores, and there's all this talk about carbo loading, so you load up your liver with glycogen so you have the carbs to get through the race. But that feeling of your glycogen stores being completely depleted, yeah. I remember feeling this. I must have been around mile 20, near the turnaround point. I remember feeling this pit in my stomach that felt like a hunger that I'd never experienced in my life before. That was not like oh, I'm hungry, I need to eat right now. It was like I need something right now in my body that I don't have. To a point that you almost feel like if you don't address it, it's beyond oh, I'm hungry, I need food. It's this feels like a physiological need, and it sounds dramatic, but I literally was I will die if I do not get something in my stomach.
I think it is a survival switch. I think it's not dramatic. I think that's actually exactly what your body is probably experiencing, right? It's complete you're not supposed to run a lot of marathons in your life.
I don't think you're supposed to run any.
I don't think one's meant to do that.
The first guy who ran one died.
after
That's why.
delivering his
And then they were like,
message.
"We'll make this a race."
Yeah.
And we all signed up to do it.
Yeah.
But it's so funny you talk about that like priority changing, and we talk about those walls and how quick that switch flicked from me caring so much about this time and all this training that I'd put into this race to just being like, I just need to survive this. I just need to get to the finish.
Yeah, absolutely. You get in your head, you're like, oh, if I could keep this pace for the whole marathon, I'm going to be so excited. And then you're just like, I'm going to be so excited when I finish and across the finish line.
Francis, I wish you could know what we know.
Oh, I
going
will.
into your race. Like,
believe me, I'm I don't know, after watching you guys, because I've seen marathons before. I like watched the Boston Marathon a couple years ago, and I don't think at the time I wasn't planning on running a marathon, so I didn't really think about it that much. I was more of just like, wow, these people are so strong. I'm super impressed. But I think watching you guys run your marathon, hearing you talk about it, and knowing that I have to do that in a month is very sobering. I'm excited. I'm nervous. But I am also now, I think, approaching it in a slightly different mental state where it's like less about this thing to be conquered and accomplished and more about this, like, I'm going to get to the race, and at some point where me and the race are going to come to a mutual understanding.
You are.
And then I'm
the race owes you nothing.
And I'm going to sign that contract and finish, hopefully.
You will.
But I mean, I'm blown away with both of your guys' performances and the amount of time you both put into this. And, I think I speak on behalf of everyone that we know when I say that I'm very proud of you, and I know everyone else is extremely proud of you. So kudos to you. You deserve all the kudos on Strava.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, I'm proud of you for your ongoing training efforts as well, Francis.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I cannot wait to be there in Burlington with you in just a little over a month, cheering you on.
It's gonna be really
awesome.
It's gonna be really fun. Well, Rachel, thanks for coming on the pod.
Thank you so much for having me.
Loved the insights. It's very, very informative. Brian, do you have a fun fact for us?
Francis, today is Sunday, April 20th. It's Easter Sunday. Tomorrow, there's a small local race that's happening here in the Boston area.
What's it called?
It's called the Boston Marathon.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like they named it well.
And today's fun fact is it takes a village from water stop duties to porta potty patrol. I would love to see the description for that role. More than 8,000 volunteers are on hand to ensure a seamless event at tomorrow's Boston Marathon, but they didn't want Rachel or Francis, who both applied to be volunteers this year and were rejected.
Yeah.
But Boston Marathon is happening tomorrow. It will have happened by the time this episode airs, so we are proactively, retroactively wishing all of our friends who are running luck, including all former guests who are going to be running tomorrow. And next week, maybe we'll do a little bit of a Boston debrief.
Yeah. I wonder what the porta potty patrol job is. Do you think it's finding people who get stuck in porta potties because their legs cramp?
I like to think that it's porta potty patrol. They just walk around in front of the porta potties and keep people from tipping them over.
My marathon just went from bad to worse.
Imagine that. You're in the pain cave. You're at mile 20. You stop at a porta potty.
And a bunch of kids just come
Someone comes and tips it over.
It's Johnny Knoxville and Steve-O.
I would
be really upset if that happened to me.
I have to say, our marathon was hard. I think that would be worse.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening to the Zone 2. I think that's a good way to finish it, though.
I got it, Francis. Thank you all for listening to the Zone 2 podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at the Zone 2 podcast. You can catch new episodes streaming every Wednesday on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.